If you're asked for an auto layout tutorial, I almost say no, because the features are covered everywhere. But knowing them and using them on a real project, that's a different skill. If you know the features but can make them work in a real layout, this one is for you. I'm Meng, and if you make it to a bonus, I will show you a 3-layer frame trick that solves logo scaling and makes width together. Most designers never figure this out. To follow along, grab the starter file in the description below. Everything's set up so you can focus on leveling up your skill. Let's get started. We'll start with the reference. Here are all the elements we will be using. One frame with everything in it. Back to the reference. I see 3 rows: logo header, nav, and content, and 4 columns. The main image is almost twice as wide as the smaller ones. Select the frame, set the grid to 3 rows and 4 columns, and set padding to 64 pixel horizontal and 32 pixel vertical. Before we place anything, let's group the elements, 1 frame per row. Select the top element and hit Command Option G. Repeat for the other 2 rows. Groups are done. Let's start placing. Drag the logo header into the grid. You will see the grid block lights up to guide you. Set it to span 4 columns and width to fill. The bottom group alignment is off. Use the alignment tool to align and pin to the center and right. Same for the search icon on the left and center. In the logo, go with center and center. Here is why this matters. When the viewport stretches, the logo header frame stretches with it. The pin constraint inside makes sure each element stays exactly where it should. Now select the section and click the row handle. You can adjust inline on the canvas or in the property panel. I will use inline. Set the first row to hug. Drag the nav into the second grid item. You'll notice it snaps to the first item instead. That's automatic positioning. It's on by default, which means Figma fills cells one after another with no gaps. We need the nav exactly where we want it, so let's toggle that off. Now drag the nav into the second grid item and set it to span 2 columns. There are 4 nav items inside. To spread them evenly, add a horizontal auto layout. The nav is aligning to the left. Let's check. Span is still 2 columns. Good. But the position is set to top and left. Change it to center and center. Last step. Click the second row handle and set the height to 84 pixels. Same as the first row. Drag the content row into the grid and set it to span 4 columns. You'll notice the elements are sticking out of the frame. That's expected. Before we set any constraints, we need to organize them first, the same way we frame each row. To select elements inside the frame, hold Command and drag, then hit Shift A to add auto layout. This gives us vertical stack. Repeat for all groups. Now select the content frame and hit Enter to select all children. Set the gap to 6 and height to hug, so it grows with whatever's inside. Hit Enter again to go 1 level deeper. Set width to fill. This makes the text wrap when the outer frame gets narrower. Stretch the frame to see the text flow, but notice the images, they are not scaling correctly. In editorial layout, images should scale with their ratio locked, so the composition stays the same. Hold Command Shift and select all 3 images, then lock the aspect ratio. Stretch again to confirm. Now the columns on the side need their own vertical stacks. Select both and add auto layout. Repeat for the other side. Then select both stacks. Set the gap to 32 pixels and hit Enter again to make sure all children widths are set to the fill. Now let's add structure to the content frame. Select it and add a grid. It defaults to 3 columns, 1 per child, but we need 4. Select 4 by 1. Then select the middle piece and span it to 2 columns. Take a look at the reference. There's a line at the top and vertical dividers between each pieces. Select the content frame, open individual padding settings, and add 24 pixels at the top. Then add a top stroke at 20% white. Now go to the auto layout stroke settings and switch to included. Here's what that means. Included works like CSS border box. The padding is measured from inside the border, so your 24 pixel gap actually becomes 25 pixels from the border edge. To get a true 24 pixel, you will have to change the gap to 23 pixels. Excluded is the opposite. padding is measured from outside the border, so the number in your file stay rounded. Talk to your developers about which they use. If you are building with AI agents like I do, go with excluded and let the agent handle the math when implementing. I will switch back to excluded here. Now the vertical dividers. Add 2 more columns to the content frame and toggle off automatic positioning. Drag empty columns into place using the inline control or the property panel. Hit L and hold Shift to draw a vertical line. Set the color to 20% white. Drag it into the first empty column, then hit Command D to duplicate. Then use the right arrow key to move the second divider into position. Click the first divider column handle and set it to hog content. Repeat for the other one. Finally, select the content frame and set the gap to 24 pixels. We're almost there. Let me stretch the viewport to show 2 problems. Content falling off at the bottom and the layout growing too wide with no limit. We'll fix both. First, the height. Select the 3 content pieces and set height to hog. Then set the divider height to fill. This gets a bit messy because of the nested grid. If you get lost, keep an eye on the Layers panel. Now select the content frame and set the height to hog. Then click the row handle and set that to hog too. Next, select the section frame and do the same. Overall height to hog and then content row to hog. Stretch to confirm. Now the width. Select the content frame, open the width dropdown, and add a max width. My viewport is at 1440 pixels right now, so I will click to set it to the current width. That's exactly where I want the content to stop growing. The layout stops growing, but the alignment is off. Set the position to center. Last few things. Set the section frame's min width to 1280, so the header doesn't clash as smaller viewports. Then clean up the spacing. Select the section frame, set horizontal and vertical gap to 0, and increase the bottom padding to 48 pixels. The layout is done, but if you're still here, I want to teach you something in advance. As we scale down to 1280, I want the logo to scale down with the viewport. Make sure your viewport is at 1440 before doing this. Select the logo vector frame, go to the constraint panel and set horizontal to scale. Then lock the aspect ratio so it scales proportionally. Stretch to 1280, the logo scales down. But stretch past 1440 and it keeps growing with no limit. That's the caveat. I want the logo to stay the same size once the viewport hits 1440. Unfortunately, we currently cannot set max width on freeform frame and SVGs. To set a max width, the logo needs to sit inside an auto layout frame. So let's give this logo vector a wrapper frame. Before we make any changes, make sure you are still at 1440 pixels. Hit Command Option G, then Shift A to add auto layout. Rename it to logo wrapper. Next, we add auto layout to the logo header frame. Set the gap to 32 pixels, width to fill, and elements align to the center. Now set the logo wrapper width to fill and elements align to the center. The logo position is still off. To fix that, let's set both side elements to 180 pixels. Here's where it gets tricky. The logo vector width needs fill to scale with the wrapper, but as you do this, it grows. Let's revert. But the wrapper needs to stay at fill. It needs to push this side element to the edges. Therefore, you can't set a max width on the wrapper. Otherwise, you lose the fill behavior. We need one more frame. Add a frame outside the wrapper and rename it to logo frame. Set width to fill. This frame does the pushing now. Next, set the wrapper width to hog to current width and position to center and center. Then set the logo vector width to fill. Now it's scaled with the wrapper. But when we stretch the viewport, nothing changes. The wrapper width has no response to the viewport yet. Let's set left and right constraints on the wrapper. Stretch to see it respond. Now let's add a max width to the wrapper, but make sure you are at 1440 pixels first. But notice the left and right position, it disappeared. Figma doesn't allow both. Why? I don't know. But here's a workaround. Add auto layout to the logo frame. Set the width to fill and alignment center. The padding value doesn't matter much here. Just keep it smaller than the distance to the nearest elements. I will use 32 pixels to keep spacing clean. And check the wrapper again, see if it's still filled with max width constraint. Stretch to see the final result. To recap, 3 layers, 3 jobs. The logo frame pushes, the wrapper holds the constraint and max width. The vector scales. That was a full brand workout, and if you made it to the bonus, that 3-layer logo trick is something most Figma users have never figured out. You have it now? Hit like and share this with a design friend who's been fighting Figma layouts. This is part 1, part 2 is coming soon. A brand new layout, and this time we cover all 3 breakpoints. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'm Meng, see you there.